All right, SPHR leaders, welcome to a deep dive. We're here to give you a real edge, an executive level grasp on being that strategic HR partner. Today, it's not just about covering material, it's about giving you a direct path to mastering a crucial part of the SPHR exam and honestly transforming your career trajectory. Our mission, pretty straightforward, equip you with that strategic understanding of HR's role as a true business driver. We'll navigate through some essential frameworks, vital metrics, and the critical laws that really empower senior HR pros like you to align people's strategies with those big picture business goals. Think of this as your personalized, high impact study session. We want to make these complex ideas really stick.
Absolutely. And we're definitely going to make that happen today. We'll unpack Dave Ulrich's really influential HR model. We'll explore how to truly align human capital with organizational strategy, not just pay lip service to it. Demystify some key HR financial metrics, HCROI, HCVA, the revenue factor. These sometimes feel intimidating, but they're powerful. And of course, highlight the U.S. laws and regulations that shape every single strategic HR decision you make. The goal is not just the what, but the why and the how of strategic HR. We'll use real-world examples and, crucially, insights for the exam. You should leave here feeling ready to talk numbers with the C-suite and confidently tackle those SPHR scenarios.
Okay, let's get into it. We often hear about HR needing that seat at the table, but what does that really mean day to day, strategically? Dave Ulrich's model gives us a powerful lens here. How does it help us move beyond just, showing up to meetings to actually driving the strategy?
Well, what's really transformative about Ulrich's model is how it describes these 4 key roles. Think of them as different hats an HR leader wears, sometimes even at the same time, to deliver maximum value. It's about consciously shifting your focus, depending on what the organization needs right then.
4 hats, okay.
Let's start with a strategic partner. This is the role where you're directly aligning HR strategy with the overall business strategy. An HR leader here isn't just reacting to business plans. They're actively at the table with senior management, helping to shape and then execute that strategy.
Okay, so give us an example.
Sure. Let's say a company plans a major expansion into new international markets. The HR strategic partner doesn't just wait for instructions. They proactively craft the workforce plan needed for that expansion. They design the talent acquisition strategy, maybe propose new organizational structures to support that growth. And critically, they advise executives on the human capital implications, the risks, the opportunities of every strategic option being considered. It's about being prescriptive, offering solutions.
That sounds much more dynamic. So it's not just filling jobs as they pop up, but strategically choreographing the people side to achieve the big vision.
Precisely. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Then, the second hat, the administrative expert, sometimes called the functional expert. This role is about ensuring efficient and, importantly, effective HR operations. It's the transactional backbone, right? Managing payroll, benefits administration, the HRIS, policy implementation, all with a laser focus on accuracy, cost effectiveness, and always looking for ways to improve.
Right. The fundamentals have to be solid.
Exactly. Think about streamlining your HRIS to cut down manual errors, or maybe redesigning your onboarding process to get new hires productive faster. It might sound tactical, but excellence here builds immense credibility. It frees you up for that higher-level strategic work. If payroll is always wrong, your strategic advice won't land well.
That makes total sense. You need that solid foundation to be taken seriously on the bigger picture stuff. Okay, so beyond operations, how does HR really connect with the individual employee experience? That feels crucial too.
That brings us right to the third hat, the employee champion or employee advocate. Here, HR is really the voice for employees, focusing on their needs, their engagement, their overall well-being. This means actively listening to feedback, promoting a positive, inclusive work environment, and really supporting development and career growth.
So what would that look like in practice?
Well, an SPHR might initiate an employee wellness program, for example, or advocate for more flexible work arrangements based on employee feedback. Maybe launch a career development forum, things that boost morale, reduce turnover, and make sure employees feel genuinely valued and supported. It's about building a workforce that wants to stay and contribute.
Okay, strategic partner, administrative expert, employee champion. What's the last crucial hat an SPHR needs to wear, especially in today's world?
The fourth role is the change agent. And let's face it, in today's business environment, change is pretty much the only constant. HR leads the people side of these transformations. This role involves designing and implementing effective change management strategies. Think reorganizations, adopting new technology, big cultural shifts, mergers and acquisitions. HR is central.
Like a digital transformation project.
Perfect example. Imagine a company going through a major digital shift. HR, wearing the change agent hat, rolls out a comprehensive plan. Maybe they use a framework like Cutter's 8 Steps, communicating urgency, building support, managing resistance, facilitating training, ensuring people can adapt successfully.
So 4 roles. And for the SPHR exam, it's vital to remember these aren't 4 separate jobs you pick and choose from, right? Effective leadership means balancing them, shifting between them seamlessly. What's a common mistake people make here?
Yeah, that's a critical insight, especially for SPHR candidates. Neglecting any one of these roles can seriously erode your trust and effectiveness. You can't be a credible strategic partner if your basic HR operations are a mess. You can't be an effective change agent if your employees feel completely ignored.
Right.
On the exam, you'll definitely see scenarios testing these roles. A common pitfall is thinking they're mutually exclusive boxes. Remember, an SPHR wears multiple hats, often at the same time. The emphasis just shifts depending on the specific business situation.
Okay, so we've got the what of HR's roles. Let's pivot to the how. Being that true strategic business partner, it means your HR strategy isn't just supporting the business, it's moving in lockstep, actually propelling the company forward. How do we make sure that alignment is real, baked into every HR decision?
That's exactly where human capital strategy comes in. Think of it as the overarching HR game plan. It covers workforce planning, talent management, learning, and development. Everything designed precisely to maximize the value of your organization's people. The goal is simple, but it's profound. Having the right people with the right skills, in the right roles at the right time, all to execute the overall business strategy. It's about being predictive, not just reactive.
And this is where the theory really hits the ground running, where you see the impact. Like imagine your company wants to stand out through amazing customer service. An aligned HR strategy isn't just hire nice people. It might involve specifically targeting candidates with proven customer-facing skills, implementing really rigorous training and service excellence for everyone, maybe even tweaking performance incentives to directly reward customer satisfaction scores. HR becomes a direct lever for that business goal.
Exactly. And this is where the SPHR's influence really shows. You're not just receiving the strategic plan after it's decided. You're often at the planning table from the beginning. You bring the data. What are our current workforce capabilities? What are the potential constraints? If the 5-year plan includes doubling revenue or entering totally new markets, the HR leader is the one assessing if the current workforce can actually support that. Identifying talent gaps, proposing solutions, maybe specific hiring surges, big training budgets, even exploring strategic outsourcing. It shows HR co-creating strategy.
Okay, but to bring that kind of insight, you need to really understand the landscape, right? The internal strengths and weaknesses, external pressures. What tools help an SPHR do that kind of environmental scanning effectively?
Great question. That's where tools like SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and PESTLE analysis, political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental, become absolutely invaluable. These frameworks help HR and the executive team anticipate factors that will impact the people strategy. For instance, a PESTLE analysis might flag emerging legal requirements like new data privacy laws coming down the pike or critical skill shortages in the labor market that you need to address now to stay competitive.
And SWOT helps look inward as well.
Right. A SWOT might identify, say, a strong internal culture as a key strength you can leverage, but maybe also an aging workforce as a significant weakness, which immediately flags a need for strategic focus on succession planning and knowledge transfer. It gives you that 360-degree view.
Let's make it even more concrete. Let's take that tech company example again, expanding into new countries. As the SPHR leader, how do you use these tools and align strategy? What are the first few steps?
Okay, first thing, you're projecting workforce needs for those new markets. How many engineers, sales folks, local managers do we actually need and when? Then you tailor talent acquisition. Your employer brand might need tweaking to resonate culturally in Germany versus, say, Brazil.
Sure.
Crucially, you conduct PESTLE analyses for each target country. Labor laws, economic stability, cultural norms, they vary hugely and shape your HR policies, your compensation, your onboarding. You'd likely implement cross-cultural training programs, too, to smooth integration.
And metrics.
Absolutely. From the outset, you define success metrics. Maybe it's having 90% key roles filled by the launch date in each market, or tracking new market revenue per employee over the first year. This whole process perfectly illustrates HR co-creating strategy, directly enabling that business expansion from day one, not just cleaning up messes later.
So, bottom line, when HR strategy is truly aligned, the company moves faster, resources are used more efficiently, and risk is managed proactively. It's a powerful engine.
And a key differentiator for you on the SPHR exam is always connecting HR actions back to a strategic business outcome. Watch out for pitfalls. A common trap is focusing only on the day-to-day HR tasks without that broader strategic link. If a question asks about strategic alignment, an answer choice describing just, say, updating the employee handbook is probably a distractor, unless it's linked to a bigger change. The best answers always connect actions to business results or long-term planning.
Okay, speaking of business results, to really speak the language of the C-suite, you need more than just good ideas. You need numbers. You need data. These three metrics we mentioned, human capital return on investment, HCROI, human capital value added, HCVA, and the revenue factor are your strategic toolkit. They prove HR's tangible impact. Let's break these down.
Absolutely. Let's start with human capital return on investment, or HCROI. This one tells you the financial return you're getting for every dollar invested in employee pay and benefits. Basically, how much value are you getting back for your people spend?
How do you calculate that simply?
Okay, let's simplify. First, figure out your non-people operating costs. If your total operating expenses are, say, $7 million and $3 million of that is compensation and benefits, then your non-people costs are $4 million. Now, find the total value generated by your people. That's your revenue, let's say $10 million, minus those non-people costs, $4 million. So that's $6 million. Finally, divide that $6 million value by your $3 million compensation costs. That gives you an HCROI of 2. That means you're generating $2 in value for every $1 you spend on your employees. A higher number, like 2.5, means $2.50 in value for every $1 invested. It's a ratio.
And how would you use that strategically?
You'd use it to justify investments, like pitching a new training program by showing its potential financial payoff, projecting how it could increase that HCROI number.
Got it. So HCROI is the return on the total investment. How do we measure the individual economic contribution on average?
That's where human capital value added, or HCVA, comes into play. This measures the economic value added by each employee on average. It's usually expressed as a dollar figure per employee. The calculation basically takes that total value added by your workforce, this $6 million in our example, and divides it by your number of full-time employees, FTEs. So if you have 100 FTEs, your HCVA is $6 million divided by 100, which equals $60,000 per employee.
And the use case for HCVA.
Really useful for benchmarking productivity. You can compare it year over year or against industry averages or even between different departments within the company. It illustrates the workforce's average contribution to the bottom line in a very direct way.
Okay, those give us some depth. But sometimes you need a quick, powerful snapshot of overall productivity, something really easy to communicate.
Exactly. And that's where the revenue factor, sometimes it's called revenue per employee, is great. It's one of the simplest but often most telling productivity metrics. Just take your total revenue and divide it by your total number of full-time employees. So if a company has $50 million in revenue and 200 FTEs, the revenue factor is $250,000 per employee. Simple as that.
And it's strategic use.
It quickly gauges overall workforce productivity. Fantastic for comparing against industry benchmarks or tracking efficiency gains over time. If that number is rising, it usually indicates you're getting more efficient, more productive as an organization.
So knowing the formulas is step one. But using them strategically, making decisions, influencing strategy, that's the real SPHR level thinking. How does this play out on the exam?
Yeah, that's crucial. The SPHR exam will absolutely test you on which metric is appropriate for a given scenario or question. So remember the key distinctions. HCROI is about the return on dollars spent on people. HCVA is the value added per person. And revenue factor is simply the revenue generated per person. Don't just memorize formulas. Understand the purpose of each metric. What specific question does it answer? That's key.
Right. It's about applying the knowledge. Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still highly strategic. HR doesn't operate in isolation. It functions within this really critical legal and ethical framework. As a strategic partner, a huge part of your role is advising leadership on compliance risks, ensuring HR initiatives meet, and maybe even anticipate legal standards.
Absolutely fundamental. And we actually have a handy mnemonic to help remember the core U.S. employment laws that every SPHR just has to have nailed down. TAFA. CAFA. Okay, let's break that down. T-A-F-A. What's the T? T is for Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is the big one. It prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Strategically, this means every HR practice, hiring, promotion, pay, training, everything must ensure equal opportunity. HR's role is to foster diversity and inclusion, prevent harassment and retaliation. Getting this wrong Well, it can be devastating legally and reputationally.
Okay, T is Title VII. What's A?
The first A is for the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, from 1990. This prohibits discrimination against qualified individuals with disabilities and mandates reasonable accommodations. A strategic impact. HR needs to proactively build accessibility into talent management, from the application process to the physical workspace. Workforce planning has to consider ADA implications. It's about tapping into all available talent pools.
Makes sense. TAF.
F stands for the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, from 1938. This is your foundational wage and hour law. It governs minimum wage, overtime pay requirements, child labor restrictions, and critical record keeping. Strategically, FLSA deeply impacts job design, compensation structures, and especially the correct classification of employees as exempt or non-exempt from overtime. Huge implications for budgeting and compliance risk.
Okay, Title VII, ADA, FLSA. So the last A must be.
The last A is for the Age Discrimination Employment Act, ADEA, from 1967. ADEA specifically protects employees who are 40 years of age and older from discrimination in any employment decisions. Strategically, this means HR must ensure older workers are valued, succession planning avoids age bias, and talent programs don't have discriminatory age limits. Decisions must always be based on ability, not age.
Title VII, ADA, FLSA, ADEA, got it. Those seem like the absolute must-knows. But there are a couple of others with significant strategic weight too, right?
Definitely. Two others to keep top of mind are the Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSHA, of 1970. This requires employers to provide a safe and healthy workplace. Its strategic impact involves proactive risk management, strong safety programs, fostering a culture of well-being. This isn't just compliance, it directly supports productivity, morale, and aligns with business continuity planning. A safe workplace is part of your value proposition.
Okay, OSHA. And the other one?
The Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or SOX, from 2002. While it's largely focused on financial reporting for public companies, its whistleblower protection and ethics provisions have major HR implications. Strategically, HR often establishes the ethics hotlines, develops whistleblower policies, and runs training on the code of conduct. It's about contributing to an ethical culture, building trust, and enhancing long-term organizational sustainability.
The really critical takeaway here seems to be that an HR strategy that ignores these fundamental laws, even accidentally, is doomed to fail. It can cripple an organization.
It's exactly. Zooming out, what this highlights for an SPHR is that your strategic role fundamentally includes anticipating and mitigating these people-related risks. And a practical tip for you, the listener, on the exam. Any answer choice that clearly violates a fundamental employment law like TAFA is always wrong. Prioritize legal compliance as a strategic imperative, not just a box-ticking exercise.
Okay, let's try to bring all these threads together now to see how Ulrich's roles, the metrics, the legal awareness, the strategic alignment, how it all integrates in a real situation. Let's use that scenario. A traditional retail firm is going through a massive digital transformation, shifting heavily to e-commerce, trying to build a more innovative culture. As the SPHR leader, what are you doing? How are you wearing all those hats?
Great scenario. Okay, as the senior HR leader, you are absolutely weaving all these elements together constantly. First, wearing your strategic partner hat, you're right there with the executives. You're collaborating to plan for totally new tech roles. Data scientists, UX designers, e-commerce managers. You're also planning extensive reskilling programs for current staff whose roles might be changing and figuring out how to carefully phase out old roles that just aren't needed anymore.
Okay, so that's the planning. What about making the change happen?
That's the change agent hat. You design and roll out a comprehensive change management strategy, maybe use Kotter's 8 steps, maybe another model. You're communicating the why behind the change, building a coalition of supporters across the business, addressing resistance constructively, overseeing training, managing the human side of that huge shift.
And the numbers, how do metrics fit in?
You're definitely using your financial metrics. You'd project the HCROI for those big reskilling initiatives to show the expected return on that investment. You might also predict how automation and a higher skilled digital workforce could increase the revenue factor over the next few years, demonstrating the bottom line benefits of this transformation to the C-suite.
What about the employees going through this, the culture shift?
That's where the employee champion role intersects powerfully with the strategic partner role. You're actively working to align the organizational culture with this new digital-first vision. This could mean overhauling the performance management system to reward innovation, risk-taking, collaboration things needed for the new model. And you'd absolutely bolster employee support programs. Change is stressful. You need to ensure there's psychological safety, resources for coping, clear communication.
And underpinning all of this?
Underpinning everything is legal compliance. You're constantly scanning for risks. Are there potential layoffs that trigger WARN Act notification requirements? Are we ensuring no ADEA age bias creeps into who gets selected for reskilling? Have we updated our data privacy policies for all the new customer data we'll be handling? Are the classifications under FLSA correct for these new tech roles with potentially different work schedules? It's a proactive, continuous legal check.
Wow. That scenario really paints the picture. It shows an SPHR truly in action, aligning HR with a major business pivot, juggling Ulrich's roles, measuring impact, managing change, and navigating those complex legal and ethical waters. It's not just separate tasks, it's this holistic dance of strategy, people, numbers, and law, all driving the business toward its new future.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. Hopefully you feel you have a much more solid grasp now on HR's strategic partnership role. Ulrich's 4 roles, aligning human capital strategy, those key financial metrics, and the critical U.S. employment laws. All absolutely essential for SPHR success. And to help make all this knowledge really stick, remember those mnemonics. TAFA for the core employment laws. Title 7, ADA, FLSA, ADA, easy to recall. And visualize Ulrich's 4 hats: strategic partner, administrative expert, employee champion, change agent. Picture yourself switching between them. Also, practice using tools like PESTLE and SWOT to analyze different business contexts you read about. Recall change models like Cotter or Lewin when thinking about transformations. And understanding frameworks like the balanced scorecard can also really help you connect HR metrics back to those broader business goals.
Right. The SPHR exam and honestly real-world strategic HR leadership demands that holistic mindset. You have to connect the dots. So avoid answers on the exam and approaches in your work that are purely tactical, that ignore the strategic context, or, crucially, overlook legal risks. Think bigger picture.
Yeah, and zooming out one last time, what this really highlights is that the most ethical, the most people-centric approach for an SPHR is often, in fact, the most strategic approach. Why? Because sustainable, long-term business success absolutely depends on treating your employees fairly and respectfully, staying compliant with the law, and truly empowering your people to help achieve those big organizational objectives. They're not mutually exclusive, they're intertwined.
So, as you continue your SPHR preparation, here's a final thought to mull over. Beyond just knowing these facts and frameworks, how will you personally leverage this knowledge proactively? How will you help transform HR in your organization from a function that sometimes reacts to one that consistently and strategically drives business success, builds resilience, especially when facing those inevitable new, unpredictable challenges ahead? Keep reinforcing these ideas. Keep that strategic curiosity alive, and you will be exceptionally well equipped for your SPHR exam and, more importantly, for impactful leadership as an HR strategist. You've definitely got this.